we have 5 or 6 people that will contribute separately, and they all bring different perspective onto the topic. Now, our first one is Mo O'Connor. He's a musician and songwriter, and in the past, he has spent 15 years in the US playing a wide variety of music genres. He's a former member of Loudest Whisper and Noel Redding Band, which of course Noel Redding had a huge connection with DeBarra's before he died recently. And Mo O'Connor has also toured with Liz Doherty and Seamus Tansey. That would be sort of traditional music. And he is a noted jazz player, member of Anita Williams and Rouge, the big band Tuxedo Junction, and gypsy jazz outfit Perfida. Mo has performed in venues all over the world, from Brazil to Russia. He has toured Germany and the UK and various other places. He has a blues band called the Mo Tones. I've been at some of their gigs. They're a wonderful group. He's also a proponent of adult education, and he's a UCC graduate, attaining an honours music degree in 2016. He's currently semi-retired, and Mo has been writing poetry since he was a teenager, mainly for the purpose of just leisure and, enjoyment and all that. And his poems are usually a social commentary on the state of the world, the state of Ireland, and you'll hear some of them now. And, he has huge empathy and compassion with the downtrodden and the people who are marginalized. So Mo, you're muted, Mo.
Okay. Can you hear me there okay?
No.
Okay, thank you very much and good evening. Margaret, that's an incredible introduction there. And I might add there, I spent 15 years in the US playing music. And I got my citizenship on March the 20th, 1996. And I was here in Ireland on March the 30th. So anyway, I believe tonight's topic is about loss. Am I right? Yeah. So I'm going to recite a poem here. The first one I'm going to recite here is a poem about my late brother, my brother Peter, who unfortunately took his own life in December 17, 1991. And I wrote this poem 10 years after that, and or maybe 10 years after that, but it was talking about 10 years gone. So it's a poem called Words Unsaid. Here it is. I remember well the day I left, so much left unsaid. An awkward embrace from my brother, now 10 years dead. You splashed water on my face, blessed in knock last June. Fearing the words of emotion, I promised to let us soon. Though we have forged the adjective on poetry's anvil, bent it to and fro at will, held a noun like a slitter, and hurled it forth with Joycean skill. The simple words of the heart are the ones we fear the most. Like the mighty oak, you did not bend. You went your own way to the end. When society's drummer drummed, you walked your own way. His beat you shunned. Now when I hear of a neighbour who died unexpectedly, I am crushed all over to the core. The words unsaid will ring forevermore. So that's that one. Thank you. The next poem I'm going to read here is a poem called it's a poem about the loss of the self, and it's a poem called It's a poem called 21 Years. And it's a poem about being sober 21 years that I wrote about when I was sober 21 years. I'm 29 now. And it's a poem about, 1 second now. Okay. But there's another short poem I'm going to proceed it with, and that I was actually writing today. And it's going to precede this poem that I wrote almost 9 years ago. And I've no title for the one I wrote today, but it might give a clue into as how I lost myself. It was a poem about the day of my father's funeral. He died when I was 16, 1971, May 71. The funeral over, we sat by the fire. A cacophony filled the room. Voices from the kitchen, women outdoing each other, making tea. The shout of laughter infused by drink, which lay in abundance in the front room table. That's where I went when all was quiet. The first taste of paddy from the bottle was bitter and burning, but soon the glow of comfort filled the aching hole. I no longer felt alone or weak. I had found a friend for life. And here's the poem, 21 Years. 21 years today, I landed back on Earth after an extended alcoholic trip to the land where booze could make you anyone you want to be. I drink to make other people's interesting, I used to say. NORCAP Rehab, Massachusetts, USA was my point of entry. The great George Jones had done a stint there, I was told. I checked in, guitar in hand, and asked for George's room. Boy, you're sick, said the man, and offered me a cigarette. Tammy Wynette, Stand By Your Man. Yeah, those were the songs on the jukebox in the early morning house, where the forgotten shot the breeze and drank. No happy songs allowed, only heartbreak and lost love. She thinks I still care. He stopped loving her today. Tonight the bottle left me down. My last drink unfinished on the bar stopped working. The party's over, John Joe said. They put me in the Cadillac, steady Eddie in the back. We drove down 95, past the budding trees in spring, the long winter lifting, just like me, awakening to the future. Church basements, coffee donuts, questions, loads of questions. Why me, not him? Maybe I can have one now and then. It's the first one, I was told, that gets you drunk and then takes hold until you're dead or insane, wandering the street with the vacant stare of the damned. Mission Hill, bottom of the barrel, 12-step group was my pill. Monday night at 8. Willie the Pimp, lamenting the loss of his pearl handle 38. Big Bill, shot 3 times and lived. 1 sec. Spoke like Jesus resurrected. Doctors, lawyers and thieves similarly affected. And so it went, one day after the next. I got my chips, 30 days, 6 months, a year, until the one on my shoulder became easier to bear. When I wanted some Freudian explanation as to why I had to lose, Steady Eddie said, son, it's the booze. Like an old love I meet on the street, it sometimes catches me unaware. I know it's never over, always there, waiting. Today, like any other, it's the same. A prayer to stop from going insane. It's the day I must dwell to live this life free from hell. So that is 21 years. Thank you. Now, another poem here. We were talking there before we started the meeting, and we were talking about speaking Irish. And I'm very sorry to say it's the bane of my life. And I don't hate the language. I intend to make an effort to learn the language because I feel I should speak it, And I was listening to who was talking there. I can't see his picture. Oh, he's on the next page. But my experience with Irish as a child would maybe what many of us of my vintage in the 60s and maybe older or younger would identify with. And this is a poem called Corporal Teaching. The stick came down with a swish. 1, 2, 3. You looked away, determined not to cry. Head down at your desk, unable to clench your fist in rage. Unfeeling fingers turned another page. The language of the oppressor. First a smirking Gaeilgeoir who ridiculed my failing and scarred my psyche more than the master's stick. Today when I hear an unpronounceable newsreader's name, it musters up the shame. I wasn't bullied in school, but when I'm on a train in Paris or Berlin, I fear the inspector and his foreign tongue, just like the one with the creaking shoes and tie from years gone by. So that's that one. And another poem from that's we're talking about poems of loss here. If I can find, just bear with me a second. Here's a poem I wrote for my brother as well. It's a poem called The Gifted. Mental and alone, they have no plan, no idea how to play the game. They are the martyred ones, the ones no one could live with. Kavanagh, Behan, Mozart, Kant, the list goes on. No career guidance counsellor ever said, write a song or book in your heart, you'll be wealthy and society's toast. No, they said, have something to fall back on, mind your job. But the gifted could not do that, and they died alone. Now I better watch my time here. Here's a poem from a childhood experience, and this is not a poem of loss as such. Well, maybe it is. This is a poem of the travellers passing the school when I was a child, and I was envious of their freedom. I had the gypsy soul, and the rest of the children were afraid of them, but I was envious because I wanted to be like them. I wanted and this poem is called The Never Ending Road, and I suppose this is about loss too, because people who are nomadic by culture, there is a loss they have as well. Maybe a loss of unsettlement or whatever. Maybe a loss they welcome. Here it is, and I use the word tinkers in this because when I was a child, that was not a derogatory term, not the N word that came later, and it's because it described the profession they had, which was tinsmiths. The never-ending road. We ran to the wall to watch the tinkers pass. From schoolyard noise to silent stairs, brightly coloured caravans, dogs and goats, clip-clop of ponies on the autumn road. I caught the stare of a girl sitting by the half-door and felt the soul of a gypsy. I longed to be on that never-ending road, to be the one with no fixed abode. Tallow Horse Fair in September was their time, while we were back in school with the brief taste of freedom still burning from the summer. They took their summer with them, stretched it to October and beyond, and bent it like the tin pots they mended for my mother. Okay, I suppose I better. How am I going on for time there, Margaret?
You have time for one more, Mo, if you want to do your one in relation to the report
I
today.
will, of course.
I
Yeah.
love that one.
I'll do this poem that I wrote back in 2014 when I first heard of the mother and baby home, the story that Catherine Collis unearthed about that atrocity, and like a lot of people, I was shocked, and I wrote this poem, and it wasn't very well received at the time by some people, by a lot of people it was, and but it's a very sad tale, and this is a tale of loss as well, because obviously the people who wound up in homes like that had a great sense of loss. They were outcasts of society, and they were shunned by their families, and they were, as I mentioned in the poem, they were a new lost tribe. So it's to do with loss as well. And this poem is called Catholic Honour Killings. And I got into a bit of a spat last night on the face cloth, as I call it. Somebody took me to task about using that title. And the reason I used that title, around the time I wrote this poem, there was in the newspaper there was a Muslim honour killing in England involving a Pakistani family, and it was about a woman who brought dishonour to the family with adultery or something like that, and she was killed. And so people were outraged, but I said we had Catholic honour killings. And they said, "What do you mean?" So that's where the title, the idea of the title came from, because we banished our daughters because of family honour. So, and a lot of them died, and the babies obviously died. So it was honour killing, maybe not as stark, but still the same thing. So here it is, Catholic honour killings. Honour killings, Irish style. This week in Tuam, the Sisters of No Mercy strike again. Not shocking news to me. I remember the disappeared, the whispered rumours of headscarfed women, men cap in hand, kneeling at the door, one leg inside to avert the cost of hell, one outside to oogle the girls who fell, bound for London or some place like Tuam. When the call to prayer rang at 6, we mumbled along, fearful not to mouth the words. Mary took the boat. She got in trouble, I heard the elders say. I knew that meant London. Ruled by shame and fear of God, they left the sod to wander like a new lost tribe. Family law, drafted by McQuaid, had a special place, said Dev, in our own Sharia. The hijab woman bowed her head in shame, awaiting to be churched. Let him without sin cast the first stone, said the book. The metaphorical stones are raining on us now. Did the Tuam babies die with original sin before the splash of holy water to languish forever in limbo? We are all in limbo now. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Mo, for all those. Absolutely wonderful. A great start to the evening, and I love the closing poem. I think it couldn't be more timely right now. Marvelous. Thanks again.